Recipe for a black bean chocolate cake. We will need 1 can of black beans drained and rinsed. Here you see the black beans. The cans that I used were 15 ounces. And then we have 5 large eggs. You should try to get them free range. Next we have the tablespoon of vanilla extract. Next we have sea salt. Next we have coconut oil or butter. And if you use butter, try to get it from grass-fed cows. And also we have sugar. This is organic, which is also something you should try to get. And finally, we have the chocolate powder. This is special dark. It just has more natural antioxidants in it. But you can use regular if you want. So the first thing, oh, and I almost forgot, we also have baking soda. And we're going to have a little bit of water. And if you make the frosting for this, it calls for medjool dates, agave syrup, and a ripe avocado, along with cocoa powder. But in this particular recipe, we're not going to make the frosting, we're just going to make the cake. So the first thing to do is we want to preheat the oven to 350 degrees, and we want to grease an 8-inch cake pan. Now of course I've just melted all the butter in here, so it's pretty much already greased. After we pour this into the blender, which I'll show you later, we will sprinkle a little bit of cocoa powder in the bottom of that. That just helps it so that the cake doesn't stick to the pan when it's done. Next we will mix together the cocoa, the baking powder, and the baking soda in a small bowl. But the first step here is we're going to put the beans here into the blender. Down in there. Yes, my cupboard's in the way, so I'm going to move my cupboard like so. There we go. Alright, next we will put 3 of the eggs in the blender. 1, 2, 3. Wonderful. Next we will put the vanilla in, and you want to use 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. So we're going to pour that in here. Next thing is the sugar. We need 3/4 cups of sugar. So I will get the measuring cup. I'll just pour a little bit of the sugar in. Now you don't have to use the full amount. You can use a little bit less each time that you make this, because it is naturally sweet. So we're gonna put that in, like so. And finally, we're going to put in the salt, and we need a 1/2 teaspoon of that. And 1/2 teaspoon. This is Celtic sea salt, and I recommend using a natural salt, as it has all the trace elements. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to blend and process this mixture until it's smooth. This is a little loud. Might take a while for it to move around, so what I do is I'll get a spoon and I'll go like this just to kind of get it started. If this happens to you. That looks pretty smooth to me. And then we will add the coconut oil or butter and egg concoction, and we're going to mix that in with this. So we're going to pour that in here. Like so, and we will put in the remaining eggs. And then the next thing we will do is we will put the cocoa powder in. And we need 6 tablespoons of this. One, I love chocolate. Girls love chocolate too. Maybe you can make this for your girlfriends. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The next ingredient we will put in here is the baking powder, and we want to put in 1/2 teaspoon of that. There's the baking powder. The next ingredient is the baking soda, and we're going to use 1/2 teaspoon of that as well. And finally, for our last ingredient, we need a tablespoon of water. Now we're going to blend this again. So that should be a nice runny, smooth consistency. Probably could do one more time. That should be good. Now we are going to pour this into the cake pan, like so. It should fill the cake pan right up. Make sure you get it all out of there. Nice thing about this cake is the fact of how inexpensive, quick, and natural it is. Not only are you avoiding flour, but you're getting a nice dose of fiber from the black beans. So this is a great recipe for those wanting to avoid gluten, and without it being expensive. So this is actually a healthy cake. Of course, chocolate is very good for you, as it has all of those antioxidants. Now we're going to put this cake into our oven, and we're going to let that bake for 30 to 35 minutes. Then we'll poke a toothpick down the center of it to see if it's done or not. And if it isn't, we'll let it cook for about another 5 or 10 minutes. But the top of the cake should be rounded and firm to the touch. And with that, let's throw this in our oven. Now we just wait.